Welcome back, YouTube. Welcome to Lich's Mastery. Today we're doing a dungeon deck. Um, so the dungeon that you'll be going through is the dungeon of the Mad Mage, over and over and over again. It's not really a dungeon like I'm going to explore each of the three dungeons. It's more of I'm going to go through this one dungeon over and over again. And Garth kind of helps with that. He's kind of just here. You're playing blink cards in the deck because you like to blink your creatures that say venture in the dungeon when they enter. So since you're already playing blink cards, I figured Garth would be pretty good, and I wanted to play all 5 colors so I could get as much of the venture cards as possible in this deck. So what you're going to be doing in this deck is venturing through the Mad Mage over and over again, which is pretty easy. You can go venture multiple times a turn, and drawing a bunch of cards, and your win con is actually going to be Approach of the Second Sun. So it's Garth's approach for the Second Sun. He's searching through the dungeon. He's trying to find this lost, or whatever it is that he's searching for. The approach, win con. He's searching for victory, pretty much. So this is a budget build. The most expensive dungeon card is right here, the Arch Lich. He's about $11, but other than that, the rest of the dungeon cards are pretty cheap. And the rest of the cards that I have in here are kind of like filler cards that help the other dungeon cards go. So really you can build this with I have every single dungeon card in here that they've released so far, and so far I love this deck. Like, it's a budget deck and it wins still against competitive decks. I mean, there's not much kill spells or removal in it, but I just like it. I love D&D a lot, and it just kind of it's just fun. So like I said, Approach to the Second Sun is your win con. So this is what you're going to be searching for. Going through the dungeon, the Mad Mage dungeon, when you reach the end of it, basically what it does is lets you scry a bunch, and as you get to the bottom of it, you draw 3 cards and play a card from your hand, cast a card from your hand for free. If Approach of the Second Sun was cast from your hand and you've cast another spell named Approach of the Second Sun in this game, you win the game. Otherwise, put Approach of the Second Sun in its owner's library 7th from the top. So basically what happens is, even the first time you cast it, you're going to gain 7 life and put it back to the bottom, or 7th to the top. And if you cast it again, you just straight up win the game. The game's over. So basically, you're just turboing out, trying to find this card. You're searching the dungeon. You're trying to find this card. So we got an Arcane Signet for for a mana ramp. We got an Astral Drift. You never cast this. You just cycle it. It blinks one of your creatures. Here's one of the first dungeon cards we'll go over. It's just a simple counter target creature or planeswalker, venture into the dungeon. Here's another. Whenever he attacks, up to 1 target card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield if you completed a dungeon. So when he enters, he makes you go into the dungeon, so you can blink him to keep venturing into the dungeon. And whenever he attacks, if you've already completed the Mad Mage dungeon, you can start reviving your other creatures. Burnished Heart for mana ramp. Clattering Skeletons is just a really cool artwork, and if it dies, you go into the dungeon. A Gargoyle is another one that you want to blink over and over again to keep venturing into the dungeon. Cloud Shift is a blink card. Commander Sphere. If anyone doesn't know what blink means, it means exile the creature and bring it back to the field. So like, it leaves and comes back. So all of these ETBs where they venture into the dungeon when they enter will trigger again. Commander Sphere is mana ramp. Conjurer's Closet lets you blink something on each of your end steps, so you can keep going into the dungeon that way. Cultivate for mana ramp. Delver's Torch is another venture card. Displacer's Beast, when it enters, you venture, and you can bounce it back to your hand, but you're really just going to keep blinking it anyway. Dungeon Descent is the only land that I'm showing you. It's a 5-color deck, so you play whatever lands you want. Like, if you have the money, you can play the really expensive 5-color lands. Otherwise, this is the only land I'm showing you where you can pay for and tap it to tap in legendary creature to venture into the dungeon. So your Garth or your other legendary creatures that are dungeon creatures. Dungeon map is pretty simple. Pay 3, venture into the dungeon. It's also a rock. This one's cool. It enters the dungeon. You enter the dungeon when it comes into play, and it has an extra effect of turning creatures into birds if you completed a dungeon. This is another blink card. It lets you blink multiple creatures. The only planeswalker so far that lets you venture into the dungeon, you basically, the other 2 effects, the neg effects, you're never going to really use, and you don't really care for them. You're just going to keep upticking this and venturing into the dungeon. Another blink card. This one lets you return a creature from that died to your hand and venture into the dungeon. Mana Rock. It's like the map, but it lets you. It has extra effects. You can venture and do other things. Enchant land. It counts as double green, and then you venture. Flicker Wisp. Blink something. Blink something to let you venture again. Fly gives a creature flying, and you venture. Ghostly Flicker, blink two things. Also, you can blink your Garth. Like, if you blink Garth, his effects reset. So basically, I'll go over him real quick again. He makes a Black Lotus, a Terror Dragon, Regrowth, Black Lotus, and a Brain Geyser. And basically, you can only do that once each. Every time he's on the field, you can only make one each. But if you blink him, you can make another Black Lotus, because he's technically a new creature. So after that, I put Grim Bounty in here. It just makes a treasure token, so it's a filter card and it kills a creature. Or a planeswalker. I didn't have much removal in here, so I was just like, makes a treasure. It's a kind of a bad card, but you know what? It's from the same set and it has Gandalf on it. This one is really important because it lets you enter your room abilities trigger twice. So if you finish the Mad Mage dungeon, you can draw 6 and cast 2 cards for free or play 2 cards for free. Immovable Rod, it lets you keep something tapped down and venture. This guy's kind of bad in this deck. Whenever you attack with creatures with total power 6 or greater, venture. But it's another venture trigger because you don't really attack much. You keep your creatures back because your win con is approach. Another blink card. Kick in the door. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Gains haste. So your Garth can gain haste, so you can use this effect immediately, and then you venture. Kodama's Reach. More ramp. Lightning Greaves give your creatures haste and shroud. Long Road Home's another blink card. Oh, I got 2 of them in here. Might take one out. And it just disappeared completely. That's cool. Basic Midnight Pathlighter. Creatures can't be blocked except by legendary creatures, and whenever one or more creatures you control deal combat damage, venture. He's really good. He enters, he ventures, so you can keep blinking him to venture, and then when he attacks, you venture, and other creatures you control get +1/+1 as long as you completed the Mad Mage dungeon. Path of Exile's good removal. Planar Ally, when it attacks, venture. This one's good. If you've completed the Mad Mage dungeon, you can give a creature -5/-5, otherwise -2/-2, and then you still venture, regardless, for 3 mana. This one, whenever a non-token creature enters the battlefield under your control, venture into the dungeon. It's really good. You can keep casting your creature's venture multiple times. Like if it enters and ventures, and then you get a trigger off of this, or you can just discard it for a white and venture into the dungeon, gain 3 life. Ranger's Hawk, tap another untap creature you control, venture. It's a 1 mana bird flyer. This is not that great either. 5 mana to venture is not great, but sometimes it really helps. It's a 0/4 early drop blocker, so it's good too. It's just another venture card. This one came out of the pre-con, and it's in here just because it ventures and it gives your creatures back to life. Shortcut Seeker, if it deals combat damage, venture into the dungeon. Soul Ring, of course, every deck has Soul Ring. Sad Robot, he cries, lands. Another blink card. Hexproof and haste, so you can use your Garth right away. Swords of Plowshares, and a removal card. Teferi's Time Twist is another blink card. Teleportation Circle lets you blink something at the beginning of your end step, so it's kind of like Conjurer's Closet. Thorough Investigation gives you clues, so it lets you draw cards, and then whenever you sack a clue, you venture. This guy's really cool. Whenever he attacks, you venture, so you don't even have to do damage with him, but he also has First Strike and Death Touch, so that's really good for a 2-mana creature. This guy, whenever you cast a creature, you can venture, so again, double your venture triggers. If you cast something that ventures, and then he triggers, you venture. This is one that just ventures when it enters. If a land entered the battlefield under your control, venture at the end of step. Wayfarer's Bauble's Ramp. Cursed Idol is a removal, or it makes you a treasure and lets you venture. If it deals combat damage, you venture. This one can only attack alone, but then he's unblockable and you venture. If he's dealt damage, you venture, and then if he dies, you venture. So that's 66 or 67 cards because I took that one out on accident. But that's like all the cards that you would run in the deck. Like I said, you would want to run all the venture cards you can, because you want, if you're trying to go for this kind of play style. It's not, Garth is a really powerful commander, and he has way better ways to play him. But this is just the fun, casual way to play him. Plus, if you like D&D a lot, I think you would really appreciate this deck. Uh, so yeah, that's my deck list for Venture Garth. He's searching for the second sun. You're searching to win the game, and you kind of ignore your opponents while you're going through the dungeon. Um, so with that, thanks for watching Lich's Mastery. I'm going to be trying to post more often. I know I said that a while ago, and it's been a few months since I've posted, but I think I'm going to get back into this. So I hope everyone has a good day today, and I'll see you later.